Welcome to Josh's Football Breakdowns.
On Sunday, the San Francisco 49ers played the Washington football team in a game they absolutely, positively had to win in order to keep their playoff hopes alive. The whole idea was if they could somehow find a way to get through this game and then beat the Dallas Cowboys, they'd be getting Jimmy Garoppolo back, George Kittle back, the defense has been playing at a high level, and they could go into the playoffs and maybe even potentially do some damage. And defensively, they got another stellar performance in this game. Offensively, not so much. Well, let's get into it and find out what happened. Immediately, on the first play of the game, we see that the 49ers are pulling Laken Tomlinson and Trent Williams around. And they're also going to use Raheem Mostert to be a blocker for Deebo Samuel. Now, the linebacking core for Washington is a little slow to react on this play. They're not sure what they're seeing yet. They're so used to seeing the 49ers fake it over and over and over again. They're not 100% sure that this ball really is going to Deebo, and they hesitate just for a split second. And when you hesitate, you become a spectator. Now, this play should go for big yardage, but right here we see Deebo Samuel pulled up a little bit, and you can see his hamstring is already hurting him. He would be injured and would leave for the rest of the game. Now, this was very damaging to the 49ers, not only because they lost one of their big weapons on the first play of the game, but remember, the first plays of the game are scripted. This means that Kyle Shanahan will call certain plays to see how the defense reacts so that he can build off of that later in the game. When you don't have one of your key players that certain plays were no doubt designed for, that script has to immediately be thrown out, and it becomes very difficult. And it would be understandable if the 49ers offense struggled from a play calling standpoint. One cool thing to watch on this play, notice Trent Williams just destroys the soul of the linebacker Holcomb. Understandably, the first possession of the game for the 49ers was disrupted, and they would punt to Washington, who's facing a 3rd and 7 here. Now, the concept here is pretty simple. Washington wants to use star receiver Terry McLaurin to pick Ahkello Witherspoon. Ahkello Witherspoon sighting. Now, of course, we know that by rule, he's not allowed to actually touch him. He just wants to kind of get in his way a little bit so that Thomas can come free on the play. But Witherspoon does a great job of just going right around it, sticking right on Thomas. Now, the pass is complete, but Witherspoon's right there, and he makes a great open field tackle. And this is my favorite part of the play. Check out all the Niners on D that immediately run over to pump Witherspoon up. That is nice. All right, Washington is forced to punt, and the Niners get the ball back. Good start on defense for San Francisco. Now, notice real quick the down and distance. It's 2nd and 1, and 2nd and 1 is a great down and distance to sort of take a little bit of a deeper shot. And the reason is because the defense is expecting you to run the ball just to pick up that first down real quick. You can take that deeper shot with a clear conscience, knowing that if you don't get it, then it's still going to be pretty easy to pick up 3rd and 1. And that's exactly what the Niners decide to do here. The 49ers send Brandon Ayuk and Kendrick Bourne deep. Obviously, the safety has to respect this, as do the corners defending Brandon Ayuk and Kendrick Bourne. Once Bourne gets by his man, Ayuk will just cut to the inside and catch a pass. Now, the ball does hang in the air a little bit, but it still gets there in time, and it's a 17-yard gain for the 49ers. Now, what do you need in order to throw the ball deep? Viewers of this channel know you need time. Look at this pass protection Mullins is getting here, including Mike McGlinchey, who is all by himself on an island. McGlinchey says that we only look at the bad plays he has, not all the good plays he has. So, okay, Mike, we'll go ahead and look at this one because, spoiler alert, we are going to be looking at some bad plays later. The Niners get the ball all the way down to the 1-yard line, and they want to punch it in. You can see they've brought Ross Dwelley in motion, and he does make a nice block on this play. But Laken Tomlinson gets great penetration, and for Kyle Juszczyk, there's no doubt about which hole they're running through. Jeff Wilson Jr. punches it in. Touchdown, San Francisco. All right, we're in the second quarter now, and the 49ers have the ball again. Now, you guys may have heard me say that I don't really consider arm strength to be a necessary asset for successful quarterback play in the NFL. In fact, there are numerous examples of this throughout league history. But we're going to take a look at a couple of plays here where it may have made a difference. In fact, there's also another element to Nick Mullins' game that I've kind of been noticing the last few weeks. We touched on it just a little bit last week, but some of his balls are being delivered just a little bit late. And we're going to take a look at a play here. For some reason, inexplicably, Washington let Kendrick Bourne streak straight for the end zone. Mullins' back foot is hit, and this ball has to be out right now. And when your receiver is streaking away from you real fast and you don't have the strongest arm in the world, those split seconds of difference count. But watch carefully as Mullins pats the ball first. The ball ends up hanging in the air and the pass is incomplete. Let's go back to the snap. Here we get a great angle. We see both of his hands are on the ball. He doesn't need to pat the ball to help him secure it. And that's a wounded duck. That patting it did not help him get a good grip and get a good strong throw on the ball. So what should he do instead? Well, if he has both hands on the ball, he can secure it that way, and he needs to go straight up into the air and go straight into his throw. But Josh, everybody pats the ball. Well, it turns out they don't. I actually did a little bit of research on this in between last week's game where I noticed it and this week. So here, we're going to take a look at the absolute master of these long, difficult throws downfield, Aaron Rodgers. Now, this isn't a comparison. I'm not comparing Mullins to Rodgers. That would be unfair. This is about learning what could he do differently, and you learn from the masters. From this angle, we get a great look at Rodgers with both hands on the football. But watch, he doesn't pat the ball. He instead takes his left hand off the ball and is able to very quickly get that right hand up and go straight into his throw. And he can drive it way down the field in a very tight window very quickly when he needs to. That's an element of Mullins' game that I think he could improve. Did I say he could be Aaron Rodgers? No, I didn't say that. I said he could improve that part of his game. All right, let's move on to the next play. Mullins makes his first read to Reed, but Reed's covered. So he resets his feet and makes his next read. Now, he's going to have a receiver come wide open deep down the field here. This should be a touchdown. But Mullins doesn't quite have the arm strength to drive it that far down the field. This is a play where his arm strength did impact the play. So he resets his feet again. Fortunately, he's got Brandon Ayuk wide open. But again, you're going to see that this ball is a little bit late. In fact, it's late enough that the safety mistimes the play and crashes into Ayuk early before the ball gets there. That is, of course, a penalty, but Ayuk makes a spectacular catch. But again, I want you to watch Mullins on the play pat the ball before he throws it. It may seem like I'm nitpicking here, but these are plays where a fraction of a second is making a difference, and this is just something that Nick could improve about his game. All right, I think we spent enough time on that. Let's move on. Now, fractions of a second matter for the defense too. You may remember on the first play, I pointed out that the linebackers for Washington hesitated for just a split second, and it may have cost them. Well, here, they decide to react pretty aggressively to this run fake. This ends up opening up the middle of the field for Kendrick Bourne. Now notice the corner is giving Bourne a lot of space here. Would he like to play up closer to him? Sure he would. But if he does, Bourne will just streak right by him to the end zone. Notice the flanker up top is also going deep. The safety can't guard both of them, so the corner has no choice but to give Bourne this space. And Kendrick Bourne takes the space the defense left behind. And he drops it. That's disappointing. That would have been a big gain for the 49ers. And he knows it too. Look at that. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So this brings up a 3rd down and 9. And watch what happens here. I'm going to circle Kendrick Bourne. And it's a false start. Ouch. That drops it down to a 3rd and 14. Niners can't convert, and that's where the drive stalls. Now, I mentioned at the top of the video that while the offense struggled, the defense had a terrific day. And here, I want to highlight a stellar play by Javon Kinlaw. Boom. Man, that is awesome. And Kinlaw runs a drill as his teammates celebrate. Let's watch it again. Here he is. Kinlaw is a special player, and he is making John Lynch look like a genius. So here we see the tight end is going to take Tarvarius Moore deep, and that's going to leave Richard Sherman one-on-one against Robert Foster. Now, Sherman is right there, but Foster definitely has a step. But watch as Foster, it seems like he slows up a little bit here, and the pass is incomplete. Wow. Let's go back to the snap. I wonder if maybe he lost sight of the ball in the air. It's kind of what it looked like there. Niners catch a break. All right. The teams exchange punts, so Washington has the ball again. Now, after what happened on the last play, Sherman is sure to give the receiver a little bit more space this time around, especially since this time it's Terry McLaurin he's guarding. McLaurin is happy to take the space. I would be remiss if I didn't mention what a special season this is for Alex Smith, given the circumstances. Washington gets enough yardage that they're able to attempt a field goal, and it's good, making the score 7-3. And we've gone through a good chunk of this game already, and the score is only 7-3. So this is definitely one of those defensive struggles. Washington definitely has a good defense, and they have a really good defensive line. And you can see here I've highlighted rookie defensive end Chase Young. Now, Chase Young was Nick Bosa's teammate at Ohio State, and just like Nick Bosa, he was drafted 2nd overall in this year's draft. Here, he gets great penetration into the backfield because the Niners don't even bother to block him. The play is designed to go away from him. Definitely a smart move for the 49ers. But here, rookie guard Colton McKivitz is supposed to be double-teaming Montez Sweat with Kyle Juszczyk. Instead, McKivitz fires off into the 2nd level, allowing Sweat to also penetrate into the backfield. Now Wilson has to make a move, and that means Chase Young will have a huge impact on this play, and he forces the fumble. The defense for Washington is good enough that one miscue like that can have devastating consequences. It almost looks like a wham, but Wilson sure didn't seem any hurry to get to the outside, and the way Juszczyk is throwing his hands up right there makes me suspicious of that. Fortunately, the defense is able to hold, and Washington is held to another field goal, making the score 7-6. 2 minutes left before the half, and the football team has the ball back again, but here the Niners catch a break. San Francisco is clearly in a zone. It looks as if Alex Smith thinks this receiver is going to take Jason Verrett deep, allowing Sims to come wide open on the sideline. The problem is Verrett is in his zone, and even if he carries him through the zone, he's still able to cover a wide enough area here that this was really a poor decision by Smith to try to fit this ball in here. This really came as a surprise to me because Smith has been a good, reliable quarterback for a long time in the NFL. He should know better than this. Verrett easily intercepts the pass, and he's looking like one of the guys the 49ers definitely need to re-sign in the offseason. If any of you guys still have the telecast on your DVR, go listen to this play because you can actually hear Fred Warner yelling to Verrett here, "Go get that!" So of course this means San Francisco is presented with a golden opportunity to try to score some points before the half. Washington knows that this is a pivotal moment in the game, so they send a corner blitz. But Kyle Shanahan is one step ahead of him. It looks like Trent Williams misses his block here, allowing penetration into the backfield. But this play is specifically designed to get Brandon Ayuk the football, with Trent Williams out in front blocking. It's an easy 10 yards, and I can't tell you how much I love the play and the timing of the play call. Fortunately for Washington, Sweat realized at the last possible second what the play was and runs Ayuk down, saving what could have been a very disastrous play for Washington. That's okay, the 49ers can run another play, and it's first down. Now here we see that all the receivers for the 49ers are covered. This isn't looking very good. And notice where the 49ers are on the field. The line of scrimmage is the 49-yard line. They're still technically in enemy territory here. So ball security is going to be very important, especially at this stage of the half. It looks like there's a little bit of a lane for Mullins, but dude, you're not Colin Kaepernick. In fact, you're not even Russell Wilson. So you make sure you secure this football before you try to run through that lane. Mullins does not. Fumble, Washington picks it up, and they could go all the way. There he is again, Chase Young. Touchdown, Washington. Wow. Let's go back. I do want to show you guys one thing. Not that anything positive can come of this, but check out the hustle from Trent Williams here. Now he doesn't get there, but this is a legitimate, bona fide effort by Williams, who's another guy the 49ers need to re-sign in the offseason. Now Mullins is right to recognize where his scrambling lane is, but this ball security is horrible. Look at that. It's just begging for somebody to come over and tomahawk that thing out of there. Niners get the ball back, 45 seconds running clock. So the worst thing Washington can do here is give up a long bonehead touchdown deep with just seconds left on the clock before half. So the defensive backs are going to give a lot of space. And Brandon Ayuk will take the space the defense left behind. Nevertheless, Washington may have felt like that one came a little too easy for the 49ers, so here they send an aggressive 6-man blitz. That means the receivers are going to be one-on-one with one safety deep for Washington. But here Moreland, for some reason, treats this as if it were a zone, and he posts up in the middle of the field, allowing Kendrick Bourne to run wide open. And he drops it. And this would pretty much close out the first half for the 49ers. So at this point in the game, we should probably talk about Kendrick Bourne. because a lot of us are a little bit unsure of what to make of him. On the one hand, over the years, we've seen him make big clutch catches in difficult moments of the game. On the other hand, you see a game like today where he's just having an awful day and he can't catch anything. He's getting this reputation that he drops a lot of passes. The truth is, he doesn't drop a lot of passes, but when he drops these easy ones in a tight game, it feels very frustrating to us as fans. So, we want to know what to make of it. Sure, we feel frustrated, but what's the evaluation? On the one hand, he's making these difficult catches. On the other hand, he's dropping the easy ones. Well, that is the evaluation. Kendrick Bourne has been inconsistent. Now, it's not as terrible as it might seem at times. It feels terrible because we want him to make these catches, but the truth is, when Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk are healthy, Kendrick Bourne complements that receiving core nicely. Well, he's at least complementing it. I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers bring him back next year, but we'll find out that soon enough, I'd imagine.
All right, despite what seemed like kind of a disaster of a first half offensively, we're in the third quarter now, and the 49ers are still only down by 6. Here, Ron Rivera takes a play out of Kyle Shanahan's playbook. Washington brings the tight end around to pick off the defensive end, and they have their receiver going in motion, kind of like Deebo Samuel. Now, this is actually just going to be a running play, but all that motion freezes the linebackers for the 49ers. They hesitate, and now it's their turn to become spectators. It's a 17-yard gain for the speedy J.D. McKissic. Now, you may remember McKissic used to play for Seattle, so the 49ers do have some experience playing against him. And here, he puts a really nice juke move on Jimmy Ward. But Jimmy Ward is having the best year of his career, no doubt, and he's having none of it. Great tackle by Ward. Later in the drive, it's 3rd down and 1, and the 49ers decide to send a blitz. And the defensive backs are playing tight one-on-one coverage with one safety on the field. J.D. McKissic, in this case, is covered by Azeez Al-Shiar. Now, what Washington would like to do is have Sims pick off Al-Shiar so that McKissic comes wide open. Now, of course, we know this is illegal. He can't do that. So what he does instead is runs right next to Azeez Al-Shiar and gets Dante Johnson to pick him off for him. Excellent start to the second half for Washington, who tacks on another field goal, making the score 16-7. We're going to move ahead to Washington's next drive. Here we see J.D. McKissic coming out of the backfield again, and it's immediately apparent that Washington's plan is the same. They want to pick off the linebacker using San Francisco's defensive back. But in this case, it isn't Azeez Al-Shiar and Dante Johnson. It's Dre Greenlaw and Jason Verrett, and they handle this situation very smoothly. What makes this play really interesting, though, is that it wasn't the quarterback that was going to throw this ball. You can see the ball's already in the air. Haskins had thrown it to Isaiah Wright. Now, because of the pick action underneath, it does look like Terry McLaurin, Washington's most dangerous receiver, does have a step on Verrett and could potentially be going deep or maybe even all the way for a touchdown. But Wright isn't looking in that direction. And this is one of those things about whenever you have somebody throw the ball that isn't the quarterback, you are a little bit more limited. He's looking for J.D. McKissic, who's covered. So Wright gets in a little trouble here, and he has to throw the ball away. Now this is cool. When Wright gets in trouble, you can actually see Dwayne Haskins telling him, throw the ball away. And Javon Kinlaw almost has another pick. Ooh, that was close. So this ends up leading to a pivotal 3rd down and 7 for Washington. And the 49ers decide to go all out, and they send a 6-man blitz here. And Washington leaves the running back in to help with pass protection. Both teams did a good job all game long of really recognizing when these pivotal moments were, and I think that's one of the reasons it was such a close game, such a good game. Now Washington's plan here is to attack Dante Johnson with Steven Sims. Sims is going to make a move to the inside and then break to the outside. And Dante Johnson bites on the inside move. Bad. But the 49ers wouldn't be the only team to drop big passes today. Haskins hits Sims right in the hands, and Sims drops it. Incidentally, Haskins is in the game due to a leg injury to Alex Smith. No, not that leg, the other leg. But it looks like Smith is going to be able to start against the Seahawks on Sunday. All right, Niners get the ball, and they're facing a 2nd down and 4. Now Mullins throws this pass away from the defender and behind Brandon Ayuk, and that ball may have hit the ground. They're not really sure, so they're going to run up to the line of scrimmage. You see the camera panning down. They're going no huddle, and usually what happens in this situation is teams will just try to do a quick handoff or something really quick. That doesn't work very well. But as you can see, here it's Washington that makes the mistake, allowing Kendrick Bourne to get wide open behind for a corner route. These two plays could be just the spark San Francisco needs to get going. Now Bourne has to turn to the inside, and as a result, he almost breaks this. All right, later on in the drive, and now the 49ers have a 3rd down and 11. Again, kind of a pivotal moment. So Washington also sends a 6-man blitz. Or do they? It looks like they've actually dropped one of their defensive ends back into coverage. The problem is they've dropped him to the wrong side, and now there's nobody covering the running back. Now Wilson comes in motion, and he sets up to Mullins' right, and then the 49ers snap the ball. Maybe Washington didn't have time to change their defensive play call, but I was a little bit mystified by this because they clearly saw where he was lined up, but they continued with their original plan of dropping Sweat and blitzing with Curl. If Sweat had instead rushed and Curl had stayed in coverage, he might have been able to pick up Jeff Wilson Jr. In any event, it's a big 1st down for the 49ers, and Mullins found the running back when he was in trouble. They bring in Raheem Mostert, and he gains 8 yards on the next play. Now the 49ers are facing a 2nd and 2. San Francisco is on a roll. Washington decides to keep blitzing the young quarterback. Kyle Juszczyk, again, runs an outlet pass to the flat, but this time Curl picks him up in coverage, and Nick Mullins never sees him. Just a devastating turn of events for the 49ers, and you can see how frustrated Kyle Shanahan is on the sideline. San Francisco is in serious trouble now, down 16 points to what is clearly a very good defense. So the Niners need to get back into this thing, and they attempt a long pass to Richie James, who looks like he's coming open to the middle of the field. Now, Jordan Reed is supposed to cut in, but instead he sees the flight of the ball in the air and cuts out to try to make a play on the ball, and he almost interferes with Richie James making the catch. This is something we saw last week when he interfered with Kendrick Bourne making a key catch on 3rd down. And it's maybe a little bit concerning that this kind of thing keeps sort of popping up with Jordan Reed. At the end of the play, you can see Richie James throw his hands up in frustration. I'm not sure if he's directing that at Reed or if he's directing that at the official, because the defensive back did hit him up high. And James does lower his head, but he does take a shot there. It's tough to say. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Either way, once again, the 49ers are on a roll, and that's good because they need to score points. Here they hand the ball off to Raheem Mostert, and for a split second, it looks like Hamilton has him dead to rights here. But here we get a chance to see the speed of Raheem Mostert. Great job by Dwelly here, letting go of his man, making sure he doesn't pick up the holding call. Raheem Mostert is a playmaker. So San Francisco attacks Washington with a fake run. It's super effective. It's actually a pass to Kyle Juszczyk. Check out rookie defensive lineman Tuhill's ankles get broken here. Welcome to the NFL. Now, why wasn't Fuller in a better position to make a play on the ball here? Let's go back. There's more to wide receiver than just getting open. Watch Brandon Ayuk occupy Fuller here with a variety of moves. Offensively, Kyle Shanahan put together a great game plan, and he called a good game. The players simply didn't execute. But some of them did, including Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, and Kyle Juszczyk. Now the 49ers are going to go for 2, because if they get this, they'll only be down 8 points, technically a one-score game. And here is a brilliantly designed play. We see Kendrick Bourne and Brandon Ayuk bumping into each other. This is intentional. Bourne is going to slide in right behind Ayuk, giving the defender no chance to cover him whatsoever. But check out John Bostic. He recognizes the play, and he sets up waiting to lay the wood on Kendrick Bourne. But Kyle Shanahan is a step ahead of everyone. The play calls for Kendrick Bourne to immediately turn back the other way, coming wide open. It's a successful try, and this is 2 plays in a row now that the 49ers have used Brandon Ayuk as a decoy. That's how dangerous he has become. Just like that, the 49ers are right back in this thing. And this is what makes San Francisco such a dangerous team. When their defense is playing at the level they are, their offense is capable of staying in every game. Haskins goes down with the sack. Let's take a look at what happened. Washington decided to double team the interior of the line and bring a tight end around to block Dion Jordan. Bad idea. Niners get the ball back. Here they're facing a 1st down and 20, and Washington decides to do a very exotic defensive play call here. Naturally, the 2 defensive ends will rush the passer, just as you would expect. But here Washington also sends a double corner blitz. Well, it's not really a blitz. They rush the quarterback. To cover for this, Washington takes their linebackers and flares them out as if they were corners. Their interior defensive linemen then drop back as if they were linebackers. This is all in an effort to confuse Nick Mullins. Now that's a pretty darn cool play. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. Ross Dwelly finds a nice little hole here, and Nick Mullins sees him. Also notice he has Brandon Ayuk wide open underneath too. Now at the top of the video, I told you I was going to show you Mike McGlinchey's good plays along with his bad plays. That's what he wanted, right? Don't just focus on his bad plays. And to be honest, I really tried not to nitpick him this week. If you want an example of a play where I maybe could have done that, take a look at the 2-point conversion attempt again. But here, Mike McGlinchey makes a really nice play, recognizing this unusual play call of Washington and sliding over very naturally to pick up the corner. The Niners would eventually punt on this drive and then force a punt from Washington, so this is actually their next drive. On first down, they get the ball to Jeff Wilson Jr., and he gains 9 yards. On 2nd and 1, they hand it to him again, and he gets stuffed. Let's go back to the snap and take a look, because this turned out to be a pretty key play in the game. Here, Tomlinson decides to chip settle before sliding over to Hamilton, but Hamilton penetrates so quickly he disrupts the play. I'm not saying Tomlinson did anything wrong here. I think it's just a great play by Hamilton. Nevertheless, it does bring up a 3rd down and 1. The 49ers line Charlie Warner up in the fullback position to block for Jeff Wilson Jr. But this is actually a fake. Warner's going to run a pass pattern. Now, linebacker John Bostic has bounced around a little bit in the NFL, but he's built a career for himself, having played for 8 years. And here, he uses all of his veteran experience. He recognizes the play, and he delivers a bone-crushing hit, and the pass is incomplete. And this brings up what has sort of become a weekly ritual for the 49ers, a controversial coaching decision by Kyle Shanahan. Now it's 4th down and 1. Do you go for it here, or do you punt? Let's go over the pros and cons of each. For one thing, you're on your own 40-yard line. You're in enemy territory. If the 49ers do go for it on 4th down and don't pick it up, Washington only needs a few yards, and then they can kick a field goal, and then the 49ers are pretty much done. That's pretty much game right there. Also, there's 4 minutes left in the game, and the 49ers have all 3 of their timeouts and the 2-minute warning. And their defense has been playing absolutely lights out. So they can feel really good about punting the football here and knowing that they're going to get the ball back with plenty of time on the clock to go down and tie this game. On the other hand, you have to look at the fact that the offense has really had a tough day. And there's no guarantee that if they punt and get the ball back, they're going to be able to go down and do it that easily. They could be faced with another 4th down situation. And a 4th and 1 is literally the easiest 4th down situation you can be faced with. And they're down by 8 points. They're going to need a 2-point conversion. What if, for example, they score the touchdown, but then don't get the 2-point conversion? I think it would have been wise for the 49ers to consider the fact that they're probably going to need multiple opportunities with the football here. Kyle Shanahan decided to punt. And I want to be clear, I don't think that was a bad decision. There was a lot of things in favor of punting. But I think the correct decision would have been to go for it. But let's take a look at what happened. Now the ball is almost going into the end zone here, and if it does, then Washington's going to get the ball at the 20-yard line. The 49ers really don't want to let that happen. Now, if you're a player, you're allowed to pick up the ball and knock it towards the field of play to prevent it from going in the end zone. And if your own momentum carries you in the end zone and you're touching the ball, it's the touchback if you touch the end zone. So Bodie Calhoun does a great job of jumping up in the air and tipping it back to Tevin Coleman. Now, Coleman's momentum is also carrying him into the end zone, so he jumps up in the air and tips it back again. This time to Pepper, who was able to down it at the 1-yard line. Now, who was Pepper, you may ask? That's the long snapper. I hope you guys realize what a great play this was. He snapped the ball to the punter, ran all the way down the field, and caught the ball off of 2 tips and downed it at the 1-yard line, really putting Washington in a bind and giving the 49ers a chance in this game. What an incredible play. So now with just 3 minutes left in the game, Washington's facing a 3rd down and 6, and here we get to what is, in my opinion, the defensive play of the game. As you can see, Haskins has completed a pass to the speedy J.D. McKissic. If he gets to the 11-yard line, that would be devastating for the 49ers. Washington would get a new set of downs. So he's in a race with who else but Dre Greenlaw. And Greenlaw stops him just short of the line to gain. How many times have we seen this? How many times have we seen Dre Greenlaw make a play like this? When the Niners had to get it done, Dre Greenlaw delivered. It's so cliche, but football really is a game of inches. All right, 2:40 to go. Niners down 8. Get your popcorn ready. Here, Washington calls another corner blitz. And just like before, this one was really, really poorly timed. Kyle Shanahan was ready for it again. The pass is complete to Brandon Ayuk, and he's got blockers out in front of him, and he is going to take this thing all the way. And, oh my goodness, Mike McGlinchey misses the block. Oh my goodness. Now, because time is a factor, they quickly snap it to Raheem Mostert before the 2-minute warning, but he only gains a yard. So now it's 3rd down and 2. The pass is complete to Kendrick Bourne, and he is going to take it way down the field. 49ers just cannot be stopped. But wait a second. Now, when we look from this angle, first of all, what a tremendous catch this was. Look at that catch by Kendrick Bourne. But the play is called back due to a penalty? What? What the heck happened? All right, when we look from this angle, we get a really good view of what happened, unfortunately. Take a look at Mike McGlinchey here because he gets absolutely smoked, and he is forced to yank down the defender. And, of course, this is a holding penalty on the 49ers. That spectacular catch and run by Kendrick Bourne does not count. So it's a 10-yard penalty, repeat the down, so that makes it 3rd down and 12 instead of 3rd down and 2. Nick Mullins hits Jeff Wilson Jr. in the hands, and he drops it. 49ers are absolutely killing themselves right now. That's hard to watch. All right, 4th down and 12. If the 49ers don't pick this up, the game is over. Now, once again, we are going to see Mike McGlinchey get beat badly. Mullins has to throw the ball early. Bourne makes another terrific catch, but the timing of the play is off, and Washington is able to rally and win the game. Oh, McGlinchey, my goodness. Now look at this one-handed catch. Really sad that it's kind of all for naught. A lot of blame to go around in this game. But a huge percentage of it has to be on Mike McGlinchey. Wow, what a disappointing way to end that game. Just when it looked like the 49ers were about to go down the field, punch that thing into the end zone, tie the game up, go to the playoffs, cause some damage, all of the above, there's an absolute meltdown on the offensive line by Mike McGlinchey. And, of course, the other play was Jeff Wilson Jr. dropping that football. But it really is kind of amazing to me how quickly we've gone from, wow, we got this great tackle in the draft to, maybe he's even going to replace Joe Staley on the left side. And then this year we start seeing some problems. Maybe there's a little bit of an issue there. Not really sure how much, blame falls on him. Is it a technique thing? Is there a chemistry issue with the rest of the offensive line? And that in turn has continued to snowball into this is an absolute disaster. He's become a huge liability. And at key critical moments at the ends of games, we talked earlier about Kendrick Bourne. Yeah, he's inconsistent. Go look up how many drops he has. Statistically, he doesn't really have a lot. On the other hand, it seems like McGlinchey is blowing major plays every week, including a series of plays at the end of the game to lose the game. That's horrible. The 49ers have a major problem there. So, what do? How do they address this problem? I think one thing they could do is maybe they draft another tackle. They're going to probably get a pretty high pick in the first round. Right now they're in the 12th spot. Maybe they draft a tackle, they move McGlinchey over to guard, and that might get them a little bit of stability in that offensive line. There's other problems in the offensive line other than just Mike McGlinchey. So this could actually be kind of a savvy move for the 49ers, maybe something that would really help his career, get things back on track. And look, maybe this is just a string of bad games. I can't put my finger on it. The coaches probably have a much better idea if I do of how serious this is and what they might need to do to address it. But that's kind of the stage we're in right now, is starting to take a look at the offseason and what the 49ers can do to improve their team for next year. Because the rest of this year isn't looking too good for us. They're still mathematically alive. It is still technically, mathematically possible they could get into the playoffs with just 8 wins. Is it likely? Not really. They would need a lot of help, and they would need to win out. And guys, don't tell anybody, but the 49ers have lost 5 out of their last 6. Shh. Best kept secret in the NFL, right? Somehow we're favored against Dallas. And you know what? That's just fine with me. If nothing else this year, I want to beat the Dallas Cowboys. That is going to be a great game. We're going to break it down, and we are going to be here for you when we do. I want to thank all my new subscribers. You guys have just been so great on this channel. It takes a long time to make a video like this. This was a long, very thorough, very detailed breakdown. It took a long time to make it. If you could just give me 10 seconds and click that like button, I would really appreciate it. If you're new here and you like what you see, click subscribe. Share the video with your friends. Let them know about the channel. And again, I just can't say how much I appreciate you guys. Leave me a comment. I read every comment. And I just am looking forward to beating the Dallas Cowboys, our old rival. We're going to break that game down, and I will see you guys then.